Jan from the Fuzzy Duckling, bringing you the second video in a series about archiving our family treasures. In our last video, we talked about gathering all of the important photos and documents and memories of our current family and of, well, our family tree of our mom and our dad and our grandpa and our grandma and our great-great-great, and as far back as we can go. Now, if you're like me, that search has given me a lot of materials. And I need some way to organize it, because the way I scrapbook, I like to take my time and enjoy it. So I need to organize all of these supplies and memories in a way that will be easy for me to put my finger on and find just what I want for that page. So we're going to take a look at this. One good way, which a lot of you may have, is to use an old-fashioned filing cabinet. Those will look wonderful. But again, if you're like me, my filing cabinet is stuffed full. I just don't have room to add anything else to it. So a great method to use if you're in that predicament, let me move these things aside and show you. Is a bin made specially to store paper goods in. Maybe I shouldn't say paper goods, but paper. I hope you can see this. But there's something special about this. It is made to hold what we call hanging file folders, and I'm sure you all know what that is. But you see the little edges or ridges around the upper edge. These are made to hold hanging file folders. Aren't those wonderful? Now, there's several sizes of these. You can get them this size. You can get them 2 or 3 times bigger. I have both kinds. But when you go to buy your bin, be sure to look on the inside. And be sure it has this ridge. Don't just buy any old kind of bin or tub, because they don't work well. Many of them are slanted so that they're not straight up and down on the sides, and they won't have this little edge, and it's just really hard to keep anything organized. So if you're going to do this method, buy you a box of these file folders, and again, you can find these at about any big box store or your business stores. And then after you've bought these, also look for a box of these manila file folders. And get some labels. And when you have all this and you're sitting down with all of your documents getting ready to organize, take a hanging file folder, put the family name on the front of that folder. I'm going to pretend here that we're doing my aunts and uncles' family. So I'd put their last name right here. And then I'll put a manila folder in for every member of that family. I'll put one of these in for my uncle, and one of these in for my aunt, and one for each cousin. So then when I find pictures and documents that pertain to that particular person, I'll just drop them in here. At this point, I won't even worry if they're in chronological order. I'll just drop everything I find about that person in that manila envelope inside the family folder. And so later on when I go to scrapbook, it'll be very easy to find what I need about that person. Now, there are a couple of other things that you can do. And I find I'm doing all of these because I have so much to go through. I have things tucked away in drawers, in boxes, in just all kinds of places, partly because we've moved often and I haven't been as careful as I should be about keeping these things organized. So as you're going through and finding things, and I imagine you'll find things for years to come, something that was tucked in a little corner, to keep a small box with baggies in them, labeled with that person. See, I have one here called Mom. Here's one called Dad. I have one for each of my brothers, each of my kids, my husband. Then as I find things around the house, oh, this would be great in my scrapbook, I just drop it in this little baggie. Now these eventually will need to be moved on to what I call my scrapbook binder. But this is a great way to start finding things and organizing them. And we all probably have baggies hanging around the house. Another thing you can do is to use these great big notebook binders. Oops, now I just dropped a lot of things. You probably have some of these hanging around from when you or your kids were in school or from a job. And the bigger the better. But again, these can be found in most any stores. And when I use this method, I also use these wonderful sheet protectors. This one comes with 50 sheets, and these are very inexpensive. And they're wonderful, wonderful for organizing. So, after you've gathered all these things about your family and you and everybody you can think of and started your family tree, pretty much, you need to decide on the first person that you want to scrapbook. Because you can't, obviously, you can't scrapbook everyone at once. And I want to enjoy my scrapbooking, so I don't want to rush through it. And if you have a lot of pictures and a lot of documents and memories and treasures, it's just absolutely almost overwhelming to know where to start. So, do what we just said. Get you some bins or a file cabinet and get all the things that you can find gathered into one place, divided by family. And then decide on the person. And I would urge you that the first person to scrapbook should be you. Because no one else will know you better. No one else will be able to tell what happened to you and how you felt and what caused things and just generally about your life. You can do the best job of anyone. And just think how it will feel 2 or 3 generations down the road for your great-great-great-granddaughter, say, to find the book you made that told about your life. Don't you think she'll be thrilled? And to know how she would feel, just think about how you would feel if at this point, going through all these things in your home, that you found the diary of your great-great-grandfather. Wouldn't that be interesting? What a wonderful gift. So let's give that gift to our future generations. So we've got them in bins. We've kind of got them separated. And now we need to choose our person. And I chose me. So I took the things out that pertain to me out of my bins. My bins now are kind of sitting in a safe place, waiting for me to choose another family member when I'm done with my life. Get you some big binders, some sheet protectors, and start dividing your life into sections. Now you may do it by birthday or how old you were, by your age. You might do it just by the year. Do one for 1960, 1961, 1962, and just move right on through your life. Or how about life events? Do it by birth, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, on up through getting married and having your children. Now, my father was a minister. My husband is a minister, and we've moved several times. So I decided to break my life sections up into where we lived at the time. Now, I had some things in this one. It was where we lived when I was born, and then we moved again, and I'm working on that. And here is another move. At one time, we lived in Indiana. And here are pictures and documents and photos and newspaper items from that era of my life, all tucked into one page protector. And then I labeled each page protector for where we lived at the time, and then I put anything in there that applied to that time period. Like we lived in Arizona, and while we lived there, here's my school report card. And we did some traveling, and I have another page protector full of those pictures, and just so on and on through my life for where we lived and what happened when we lived there. And this isn't fancy. I just put little pieces of scrapbooking paper there telling me what era it was. Now, this is not the end. One more step you need to do before you actually can get to scrapbooking. Because if you notice, there's a lot of things in some of these. And again, I have 3 of these full of things pertaining to my life. It's getting organized, but it takes a while. So, Next, you need your working scrapbook binder. I don't know that these will stay in this binder, but this is my working binder. I have pages I've done and pages getting ready to do, all in this one binder. And we'll talk a little bit more about setting these up or how to make your scrapbook in another video. But the same way you divided your life into sections in this binder, now you need to take one section. And we lived in Harrisburg. So I took the pictures I had about the time we lived in Harrisburg and I divided them again. This time I divided it as chronologically as I could figure it out, because for me that's been a long time ago. As you can tell from the pictures, they're all black and white. And we weren't the best of photographers back then, and the cameras didn't do so great. But this is what it was during that era. And I'm not even worried about making copies and making these pictures perfect by photoshopping them. This is what real life was. And that's what I went to scrapbook. So I divided up between events there, chronological events in my life. Here's some pictures of me outdoors. We went on a picnic. Each one of these will make a scrapbook page. Here's a church event we had. Here's another great scrapbook page. And on through the time we lived there. Now, the next step, once I've done this, it seems easy. I'm going to make a page out of this. I've already started on this place in Harrisburg. And I came up to these. And now I have the pictures in a page protector, along with the background, and along with the ephemera and journaling paper that I'm going to use. Now, once you hit this stage, look how easy it's going to be just to make a scrapbook page. Something that was overwhelming now has been cut down into simple steps, so I don't just sit there and look at this whole big mess of things and think, well, how do I start scrapbooking? Now I know. Once I've done this page, I'll know I just move on to this page. Then I move on to this page. Well, here's two pictures. It's going to be easy to find the background for this, and I'll move on to this page. And it makes a terribly hard job very easy. Now, next time we get together in a video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to choose what type of scrapbook you want to have. But I'll just show you a few things here. When you're gathering materials, don't just gather things that are like pictures. We just think pictures. But how about favorite sayings or favorite poems or pictures that you didn't take, but get on the internet and look for pictures from the era. For example, I have a picture that I'm going to be working on, and I think we just went past that here. Let's see if we can find it here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It is me as a little one out helping my dad hang clothes on the clothesline. And I'm sure I was a big help. And my mom wrote on the bottom of this old picture, washerwoman. So during that time, I remember my mother had a wringer washer. And then you hung the clothes out on this clothesline. Now that's a lot different than how we do our laundry today with our nice fancy dryers and washers that just do everything for you. You don't have to step out in the cold and hang your clothes on a line. Now my great-great-great-grandkids will be interested to see the difference in how we did laundry then and how they're doing laundry in the future. So I intend to put a picture here of a wringer washer and explain how that worked, because it is so different than what we use now and will be used in the future. Think about showing pictures of the telephones you used, the cars you drove, what your TV looked like. And then also think about world events. Who was president or prime minister? What was going on as far as world events? Was there a war that affected you and your family? Look at all those things, and you can find so much on the internet. Another interesting thing, and I think I had one in here, was the fashions of the era. I've just started on that, but I did put one in, a baby fashions. Here we go. This was from a pattern envelope from the era, from when I was a little one, how they dressed little guys during that time. This is a playing card from a game that was played when we were kids. My grandmother was always talking about a poem when I remember her saying this often. Here's a picture of her, whenever her hair would get in a mess, or she had been out working hard and got grungy and dirty, she would say, "Oh, I look like the wreck of the Hesperus." Well, as a kid, that didn't mean much to me. But when I was doing this, I looked up the poem, The Wreck of the Hesperus. It was written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. It's really a sad poem about a shipwreck and how the ship looked after it was wrecked on the rocks. So when she was saying that, she was saying she looked just as bad as that ship did when it got wrecked. And so I thought that was an interesting little tidbit that future generations will think is really funny about my grandmother. And they would never know that if I don't scrapbook it. So, the next time we get together, we're going to talk about how to make some of these little embellishments. Things that we've added here to the side that just kind of make it fun. So for now, I'm going to let you go. See if you can get some things organized. And we'll get together again in a few days and talk a little more about scrapbooking and how to make some of these things. So thank you for being with us, and we'll see you later.